She demanded 50% of my company sale for being my emotional co founder. So I calculated exactly what her friendship was worth and sent her a check for $8,000. I am still shaking just thinking about the absolute, unmitigated audacity of this woman. You think you know people. You think that 20 years of sleepovers, shared secrets, and surviving bad haircuts means something. But, honey, put a pile of money on the table, and you will see the demon living inside your best friend's soul faster than you can say deposition. Let me tell you how we got to the point where I was sitting across a mahogany table from the woman who was supposed to be my maid of honor, watching her lawyer try to explain why my blood, sweat, and tears were actually her property. Me and Jessica, let's call her Jessica, though I have some other colorful names for her right now, we had been tight since seventh grade. We were the duo, the package deal. We went to the same college, rushed the same sorority, the works. After graduation, our paths split a little, but we stayed close, or so I thought. Jessica landed this cushy marketing gig at a mid sized firm downtown. She was making good money, buying designer purses, going to bottomless brunches every Sunday. The Sex and the City lifestyle, you know? Meanwhile, I was in the trenches. I was waiting tables at a high end steakhouse 5 nights a week, destroying my feet in cheap black flats and smelling like garlic butter and despair. But during the day and late into the night, I was building my empire. I was developing a logistics platform specifically for boutique hotels to source sustainable local amenities. Think artisan soaps, organic linens, locally roasted coffee. It was niche, it was unsexy, and it was hard. For 3 years, I was a ghost. I missed birthdays. I missed girls' trips to Cabo. I missed the bachelor watch parties. Jessica would come over to my tiny, drafty apartment with a bottle of wine, sit on my thrifted couch, and scroll through Instagram while I frantically typed code on a laptop that was overheating so bad I had to keep it on a literal bag of frozen peas. I would talk to her about the bugs in the system, the farmers who hung up on me, the terrifying reality of my bank account hitting double digits. And she would nod, take a sip of Pinot Grigio, and say, "That sounds super stressful, babe. Anyway, did I tell you what Brian said to me at the mixer?" She treated my business like a cute little hobby, like I was knitting scarves for Etsy. She'd roll her eyes when I couldn't afford the $20 cocktails at the rooftop bars. She'd say things like, "You need to live a little, Elena. All this work for what? Just come out." But I kept my head down. I ate instant noodles until my sodium levels were a medical concern. I wore the same 3 outfits. And eventually, it clicked. The platform launched, I got 10 hotels, then 50. Then a major boutique chain signed a contract that covered 3 states. Suddenly, I wasn't just the broke friend anymore. I was a CEO. When I closed my Series A funding round and quit the steakhouse, Jessica threw me a party. She posted this long, sappy caption on Instagram with a picture of us saying, "So proud of my bestie, CEO. I've been there since day one. R&R's girl boss. Ah, we made it." I remember looking at that hashtag, we made it, and feeling a weird little prickle on the back of my neck. We? But I brushed it off. I was happy. I was finally breathing. The business exploded over the next 2 years. We were featured in Forbes, TechCrunch, all the big ones. And Jessica was right there, basking in the glow. She'd drop by the new office, flirt with my developers, and tell everyone she was my unofficial advisor. Then came the offer. A massive hospitality conglomerate wanted to acquire the platform. The deal was for $14 million. After taxes, investor payouts, and legal fees, I was looking at walking away with about $5 million clean. Life-changing money. Retire early and buy a house in Italy money. I called Jessica immediately. I was crying. I was shaking. I told her, "Jess, they offered $14 million. It's happening." She screamed. We popped champagne. She hugged me so hard I thought she cracked a rib. She said, "I knew we could do it. I knew all our hard work would pay off." There was that word again. Our. 2 days later, I'm sitting in my office, looking over the acquisition paperwork, and my assistant buzzes me. She says, "Elena, Jessica's here, and she has a guest." I walk out to the lobby, smiling, thinking maybe she brought cupcakes or balloons. But Jessica isn't holding balloons. She's standing next to a man in a suit that costs more than my first car, holding a leather briefcase. She looks at me and her eyes are cold. Dead cold. "Hey, Elena," she says like we're strangers. "This is Marcus, my attorney. We need to talk about the equity split before you sign the sale papers." I laughed. I literally laughed in her face because I thought it was a prank. "Good one, Jess. Seriously, who is this?" She didn't smile. She walked past me, into my conference room, and sat at the head of the table. Marcus, the lawyer, laid out a folder. "Ms. Davila," he says, looking at me like I'm a bug he's about to squash. "My client is asserting her right to 50% of the company's founder equity, based on her role as a founding partner and primary strategic advisor." I stood there, feeling the blood drain out of my face. "Founding partner?" "Jessica, you have a full-time job at a marketing firm. You have never written a line of code. You have never signed a contract. You have never put a single dollar into this company." Jessica folds her hands on the table. She has this rehearsed, victimized look on her face. "Elena, don't do this. I was there every night. I was your emotional support. I listened to your ideas. I gave you feedback on the logo colors. I helped you pick the name during that drunk brunch in 2018. I sacrificed my social life to support your dreams. That is sweat equity. That is emotional labor, and I deserve my share." I looked at her, really looked at her. This woman who had complained that my business was boring, who had never opened a single spreadsheet I sent her, who had treated my poverty like an inconvenience to her social calendar. "You want $7 million, I whispered, "because you drank my wine and complained about your boyfriend while I worked?" "I want what's fair," she said, her voice shaking with this fake righteousness. "I was the emotional co-founder. You couldn't have done this without me." If you are already shook, hit that like button, because, honey, I haven't even gotten to the petty part yet. The level of pettiness I was about to unleash was biblical. I told them to get the hell out of my office. Jessica started crying, actual crocodile tears, screaming that money had changed me, that I was greedy, that I was betraying our sisterhood. The next day, the flying monkeys arrived. Mutual friends started texting me. "Elena, just give her something. She really feels like she helped. Elena, is money really worth losing your best friend?" Her mom called my mom. Her mom told my mom that I was a thief and a user. That was the snapping point. You do not bring my mother into your delusion. I decided to treat this like a business transaction. If Jessica wanted to be paid for her services, I would value her services. I pulled 3 years of phone records. I pulled every text thread. I pulled every email. I went through them line by line. I found the hundreds of times I texted her about work, and she replied with K or oof, sounds rough. I found the emails where I asked for feedback on the business plan, and she never even opened the attachment. I found the dates where she claimed she was consulting late at night and cross-referenced them with her Instagram stories, showing her at clubs, drunk, with hashtags like living my best life. Then I did the math. I looked up the average hourly rate for a licensed therapist in our city. It was about $200 an hour. I decided to be generous. I calculated that over 3 years, Jessica had spent approximately 40 hours actually listening to me talk about the business without interrupting to talk about herself. 40 hours times $200 an hour. I had my lawyer draft a formal settlement offer. We sent it over by courier. The offer was for $8,000, labeled Payment for Emotional Consulting Services, Non-Professional. Included in the packet was a binder, a literal 3-inch binder containing every unanswered text, every screenshot of her partying while I worked, and a transcript of a voicemail where she called my business Elena's cute little failing project. Her lawyer called mine. He wasn't laughing anymore. He said, "This is an insult. My client demands a settlement of $2.5 million to avoid litigation. This is a good faith offer." My lawyer, who is a shark named Sarah, I love her, I would take a bullet for her, put him on speaker so I could hear. She said, "File the lawsuit, Marcus. We dare you." They filed. Jessica sued me for breach of oral contract, unjust enrichment, and, get this, quantum meruit, which basically means payment for value of services rendered. She was asking for 50% of the company, plus punitive damages for emotional distress. The audacity was so thick you could cut it with a knife. But here's the thing about lawsuits. They require discovery, and discovery is where liars go to die. We had to sit for depositions. This is where you sit in a room under oath and answer questions while a court reporter types everything down. Jessica's deposition was the most beautiful disaster I have ever witnessed. My lawyer, Sarah, started nice. She asked Jessica about her background, her marketing job, then she started drilling down. Ms. Jessica, can you write Python? No. Can you write JavaScript? No, but I understand the vibe of the tech. The vibe. Okay. Did you negotiate the contract with the Hilton Group? No, Elena did the paperwork, but I hyped her up before the call. You hyped her up. Can you please point to the specific date and time you hyped her up? Jessica couldn't. Then Sarah pulled out the receipts. She projected a text message on the wall from 2 years ago. Ms. Jessica, on November 12th, the plaintiff, Elena, sent you a draft of her pitch deck asking for edits. You replied, and I quote, "LOL, babe, I'm too drunk for this. Just make it pink or something. Is this your strategic advice?" Jessica turned beet red. I was joking. It was banter. Banter. Okay. Let's look at this email where Elena asks for help with the supply chain crisis. You didn't reply to this email, did you? I probably called her. We have your phone records, Ms. Jessica. You didn't call her for 3 weeks during that period. In fact, your credit card statement shows you were in Cancun. Were you providing remote consulting from the swim-up bar? By the end of the 4 hours, Jessica was sweating through her silk blouse. She was stuttering. She admitted she had no written agreement. She admitted she had invested $0. She admitted she had a full-time job the entire time. But she wouldn't drop the suit. She was convinced, deluded, that a jury would see her as the victim of a greedy friend. The acquisition was on hold pending the litigation. My investors were nervous. The buyers were annoyed. I was losing sleep. My hair was thinning from stress. I felt like I was carrying a boulder on my chest. Make sure you're subscribed because the update I'm about to drop is going to make you scream into a pillow. We move for summary judgment. This is basically asking the judge to say, "This case is so stupid we don't even need a trial." The judge was a stern woman in her 60s. She read the briefs. She looked at the binder of receipts. She looked at Jessica's lawyer. She said, "Counsel, are you telling me that listening to a friend complain over wine constitutes a fiduciary partnership?" Jessica's lawyer tried to argue about modern relationship dynamics and intangible contributions. The judge cut him off. If emotional support created equity, every bartender in this city would own half the businesses their patrons run. Case dismissed. Dismissed. With prejudice, meaning she couldn't sue me again. But the judge wasn't done. She looked at the filing and said, "This lawsuit is frivolous. It is an abuse of the legal system. I am granting the defendant's motion for attorney's fees." Jessica didn't just lose. She had to pay my legal bills, which by that point were around $45,000. I looked across the courtroom. Jessica wasn't crying anymore. She looked like she had been slapped. She grabbed her purse and ran out of the room before the gavel even hit the wood. The fallout was immediate. I signed the deal with the acquisition company 3 weeks later. The money hit my account. I was officially a multimillionaire. I blocked Jessica on everything: phone, email, social media. I blocked her mom. I blocked her sister. But the mutual friends, the ones who told me to just pay her, they came crawling back. Suddenly, they didn't know the whole story. Suddenly, they were so proud of me. I hosted a dinner party to celebrate the sale. I invited the people who had actually helped me: my assistant, my developers, the 2 friends who had brought me soup when I was sick, and never asked for a dime. I didn't invite the peacekeepers, and I certainly didn't invite Jessica. Update 1, 2 weeks later. You guys, it gets messier. Since Jessica couldn't get my money, she apparently spiraled. I got a DM from a girl who works at Jessica's marketing firm. Apparently, Jessica had been bragging around her office that she was about to come into millions and was planning to quit in spectacular fashion. She had apparently stopped doing her actual work, expecting her settlement to fund her life. When the lawsuit failed, she had a meltdown at work. She was fired for negligence and, get this, using company resources to manage her personal lawsuit. She is now unemployed, $45,000 in debt to me, and owing her own lawyer probably another $20K. Update 2. Months later, my lawyer received a check for the $45,000 legal fees. It wasn't from Jessica, it was from her parents. They attached a letter asking me to find it in my heart to forgive their daughter and not pursue further sanctions. I didn't reply. I cashed the check. I took that $45,000, added another $55,000 of my own money, and started a grant fund for female founders. I called it the Real Support Fund. It gives micro grants to women starting businesses who need to pay for legitimate professional consulting. The pettiness felt so good. I slept for 12 hours straight. Final update. The karma. I'm recording this from a hotel room in Tokyo. I took myself on a 3-month trip around the world. I am eating sushi, I am visiting temples, and I am brainstorming my next business. I heard through the grapevine that Jessica had to move back in with her parents. She's trying to become a life coach on Instagram now. She posts quotes about betrayal and how money reveals the snake in the grass. The irony is lost on her. She wanted to be an emotional co-founder. She taught me the most valuable lesson of my life. Get everything in writing, and real friends don't send you invoices. I realized I didn't lose a best friend. I lost a leech, and the removal process was painful, but honey, I feel so much lighter now. So here's my question for you guys, and I want you to be honest in the comments. If your best friend became a millionaire tomorrow, would you expect a cut just for being their friend? Or is Jessica as delusional as I think she is? Let me know down below, and don't forget to subscribe for more tea. Bye.